All right, time for sporting history. And today I'm joined by rugby league legend Mark Graham. We've been doing sporting history for a few years. Can't believe it's taken this long to get him on because he is an absolute legend. He started out playing for Otahuhu. Then from 1977 to 1988, he played 29 tests for the Kiwis. He was captain for 18 of them. He also played in the NRL and in the UK as captain of Wakefield Trinity. He's widely regarded as the best rugby league player to ever come out of New Zealand. And that's just not just me saying it. In 2007, he was named New Zealand Player of the Century. He was the first Kiwi inducted into the NRL Hall of Fame. Mark Graham joins me now. Hello there.
G'day, Jesse. How are you, mate?
Good. Sorry to embarrass you listing all your accolades there, but you must be very proud of all those achievements and the recognition you've received.
Yeah, I am, Jesse. I'm extremely pleased. I think one thing that everyone's got to understand is that I'd finished in '88 and I got that award that you talked about, the New Zealand Player of the Century, and Team of the Century in 2007, I think. That happened a lot of years after I'd finished playing. I was just a bloke that played hard, tried hard.
Is that what the difference was for you, do you reckon? Just how hard you went?
Oh, look, I think that the fact that I played with lots of good players was a big factor, obviously. Especially in a team sport, like, if you don't get the ball when you want it, you can look like a pretty ordinary, So, especially like the way that the game's played now, in the old days, I'd be able to go and get the ball off the dummy half or, whatever, go to dummy half. Nowadays, everyone's got a place to be and a role to play, so very difficult if you're not playing with good players to show what you got.
Right, much more, I guess, what would you say, systematic these days. Could you tell us what a back rower does?
Well, in my day, everything. Yeah, I used to run the place. I used to tell everyone what to do, and then I'd wait for an opportunity to put my imprint on the game. So, and I was lucky enough to be able to slip a ball or two, so people used to hang around waiting for the ball and make it look pretty good sometimes.
Tell me how you got into, it was rugby first of all, tell me how you got into that. I think that was your dad's influence, eh?
Well, actually, I went to St Joseph's Convent School in Otahuhu, and they got a set of jerseys off the local convent school, and they got a set of jerseys of the Otahuhu Rovers Rugby League, as I know them in those days, and now they're the Leopards. And all my mates played, so we all played, and that's how I got into rugby league.
I've got a quote from your dad here. At one point you said that he told you all your mates are going to end up dead or in jail.
Well, yeah, we ended up going from Otahuhu Convent School, we ended up going to St Paul's College as boarders for a short time anyway, and then I turned into a day boy. But yeah, it was I was quite shocked by that actually, and a lot of them actually didn't live to ripe old age like I am at the moment, and so I suppose it's the choices we make, isn't it?
Yeah. Did your dad get to see your success?
Yeah, Dad was. I love my old man. He was a father of that time. If you did wrong, you got a flogging. If you did well, you got patted on the back. But there's no such thing as. I doubt Dad most probably would have come to watch me play footy a little bit, but wasn't something that we did every Saturday. It was old school love. It wasn't like nowadays that you've got to have your arm around their shoulders all the time. Yeah. It was different.
Yeah, interesting. Did you, when you were at school, did you have the idea of being a professional player on your radar? Did you think were you aspiring to that?
No, never. No. I just thought I'd get a job and I just play footy on the weekends. And if I was lucky enough, I might play premiers for Otahuhu if I was lucky enough. And it just sort of all happened from there. There was no such thing as professional football. Even though I didn't play professional football, I played football. And I had a job, and when I finished my job, I'd train 2 or 3 days a week with the footy side. And the off season, I'd do the same. There was no such thing as professional football. I'd make some money out of it, but in those days, you lost half it in tax, and because you had a second job, you lost more. So, that's just the way it was. You didn't do it to make money. You did it to see how good you were and how long you could last.
What were you doing in the day for your day job?
Well, when I was living in New Zealand, I was a brickies labourer, and then I was a jibboard stopper. And when I was in Brisbane, I was a jibboard stopper. And then when I was in Sydney, I was a cellarman and a sales rep.
Okay. But a lot of it pretty physical work. And then there's also another pretty famous character, another Graham actually. This is Sir Graham Lowe. And
Oh, yes.
Tell me about his impact on your game. I think he was the coach at Otahu when you were there, right?
Yes, yeah. He was. I met Graham. I think very early on. I think it was a third grade. Well, it was the last of the junior grades in Auckland competition, and it was you had to be a certain weight on a certain date, and age didn't matter. So Graham was actually our player coach. So he was maybe 10 years older than us, and he knew a bit about footy, and we had a pretty good side, and we became, I think, Auckland champions for our age group. But we were playing guys his age, 10 years older, and 18 and or 17 and 18. That's a lot of age to give away. So he was a very good coach and a good bloke, and we all liked him, and we were pretty good, real good actually.
Do you keep an attachment to your club for your whole life, even when you move on, move up to the NRL or Test League or whatever? Do you still feel connection to Otahu?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I've been in touch with Otahu recently about coming home to New Zealand to do something.
Like a fundraiser, I think, in February, eh?
Yeah, that's right. And so I suggested that as soon as I'll be home, why don't we have a fundraiser in February on the 14th? So, we're going to get Ruben Wiki, myself, Richie Barnett, Kiwi McGahn, Graham Lowe.
Wow.
So all together, and we're going to hopefully take questions off the floor.
Yeah, awesome.
So, and all of us were Kiwi captains, all played out of Otahu. So, it'll be a good. Hopefully, it'll work out well.
Yeah, I mean, league is a lot of it is about the club, whether it's in New Zealand or Aussie. But I also wanted to mention that you played for Auckland, and mate, how good was that 1977 Auckland team?
Yeah, well, it was a privilege. It was unbelievable. And the funny thing about it, Jesse, is that, well, not funny, I suppose, but in those days, like as I said, we all worked. So you got the Herald on Monday morning, and you go into the sports section, and you see if you got picked. Because that's how you found out.
Gosh.
You didn't. There was no such thing as they announced on the radio. It was rugby league. It was like it was a working class man's game.
Yeah.
So you looked in there and you found I think John Doherty used to be the rugby league commentator. I think. Anyway, you would look for his column and see if your name, and then you'd turn up practice on generally that night or the Tuesday night at Cornwall Park. They had two lights there, and we'd practice for about 15 minutes until we couldn't see the ball anymore, and then we'd play on the Wednesday against the international sides, whoever it be. So that year we played Great Britain, France, Australia, I think.
Yeah.
And we beat them all. So we had obviously we had a great side. We had some outstanding players, and was lucky to be part of it.
I mean, there's still huge working class support for league, but I guess over the time that you were playing, you would have seen it become a bit more glitzy, a bit more glamorous. I guess particularly thinking about the coverage that the NRL was getting through the 80s.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, I was never at home to see that, so I was living
right
at that stage, obviously. So, but yeah, it was. It's nice to see the game as it is at the moment. I mean, it's the Warriors support is unbelievable. It's it's wonderful to see the game on a real high, and and producing some very, very good players. In fact, I'd say of the top 30 players in most NRL club sides, at least 15 of them have New Zealand passports.
Yeah, that's cool. If you just tuned in, you're on RNZ National Afternoons with Jesse Mulligan, and this is our regular sporting history segment. I'm talking to Mark Graham about his league career. So why did you ever leave New Zealand?
Well, it was just an opportunity to my mate Graham Lowe had coached us in 79, I think, at Otahu. Oh no, 78 he finished. And then he went off to North and Brisbane, and I was coaching over there. And then he called me and said, mate, do you want to come over and play? And I said I'd like to, so I did. There was no contract involved. There's no money talked of. So I packed up my family at that stage, and I just had my eldest son, Luke, and my wife, and Luke went to Sydney, where her mother lived, and I went to Brisbane, and got a job and played footy, pretty much.
Yeah, you actually did sign a contract. What did that contract look like?
Well, I didn't go for a contract. I went and trained. Well, I wasn't allowed to train because New Zealand Rugby League wouldn't give me the clearance. So with about 2 weeks to go, all that got sorted, and then I played the trial games, and then they approached me in the bar after a game and said, Bobby Bax was the secretary manager, I believe. He approached me, picked up a coaster from the bar and said, he wrote on the back of it, "That's what I'll pay you for the year." And I thought, well, yeah, this is pretty good. And I agreed and signed and co-signed it. And then after a couple of weeks, I decided that I needed some more because if I was going to set up all the tries, I was going to need some more money. So he gave me some more money.
Is that true, or is this just a story that you had to pay for your own medical treatment?
No, it used to be $7 a stitch, and I used to get stitches all the time. So I can remember one day I got cut pretty badly early on, and I had to leave the field, not from the bleeding, but because I got another injury, and I'd only played about 10 minutes, and you used to get $2 a minute. So you got $40 for if you won, you got $2 a minute for playing, and for winning the game, and then you got $40 for training.
Jeez.
So you got $200, which is good money in those days.
Yeah.
For winning the game of footy. But it all counted on you finishing the game. If you only played 20 minutes, you got $40, and you got your training on top of that. So you had to play the whole game, and you had to obviously not end up getting too many stitches because otherwise that came at you.
So you're getting stitched up and you're doing the math at the same time.
Yeah, well, that cost me money that day. I remember that.
But what was the step up like to footy in Australia?
Yeah, it was a lot hotter, obviously, especially in Brisbane. They trained hard. They work hard. When they start sweating and they start breathing hard, they just roll their sleeves up and keep going. And they have real grit and determination about them. So that's got to be sort of a learned thing. You either got it or you haven't, or you learn to have it, and it takes some time to learn it. So, great. I never captained that side actually. Blake Moran and Mark Murray did. He was a very successful player and coach in Brisbane, and he went on to become a Zaid of Origin halfback and halfback for the Australian side. So. He was a very good player. And again, we had good players. I look back on that side in 1980. I only played the 1 year in Brisbane, and we won the comp. And we beat some really good sides to get there and to win the comp. We came fourth. It was a top four in those days. And we played number three. I think number three. And we beat them, and they were out. And then we played the loser out at 1 and 2 sides the next week, and then we played the grand final, and we won all our games on that way through. But if you look back on the team that we had, we should have won. We had great players. They weren't really known over there. So.
Is it true your faith played a bit of part in your life in those days? Are you happy to talk about that aspect of life for you?
My faith. Oh, yeah, sorry. I thought you said face. I was going, wow, that's a new one.
Yeah, your stitched up face. No.
Yeah. I've always, I was brought up a Catholic. I've always believed. I always, I'd like to think I'm more of a Christian than a Catholic, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think you've got to be nice to people. You've got to do the right thing. You've got to be upstanding. You got to take the opportunity to show what you got every now and again. And I pray in the mornings and I pray in the evening. Always have. And I can remember when I first went to play for the Otahu side, my mother gave me a prayer written on the back of a bit of cardboard, and it was the memorandum, and we just sat before I played all the time. And one of the guys that I used to sit beside in the shed always sat in the same spot. He said, "What's that?" I said, "Oh, it's a prayer." And And he said, "I'll say one for me." I said, "I just can't hand him the card." He said, "You can say one yourself, mate." and yeah, no one ever said anything untoward about it. It was just very, very much accepted. I mean, you know, in the old days, it was a hard old game. Don't worry about that. And as an old saying, there's no non-believers in foxholes.
Yeah.
And, so it was something. I was very, very proud to be a believer in the good Lord. You know, I think he's. We're going to meet him one day, and we want to have enough ticks in the book to go to somewhere good.
Yeah. And to be fair, Mark, you're not the sort of guy that I'd go up and make fun of in the dressing room over your religious beliefs. I don't imagine anyone would last too long.
No, I wouldn't have worked out very well. Would have.
Do you remember your first game in the NRL?
Oh, in the NRL would have been 1981. I know I come back from tour captaining the Kiwis in 1980. I went straight to Sydney. I signed with them North Sydney Bears while I was away on tour, and it was like early December they started training. I'd only finished playing footy about 2 weeks before that, but it was in England. It was freezing cold, and we went down around North Sydney somewhere to a park, and we were having pre-season training. And man, I was struggling. I was exhausted. It was bloody hot. I know that. And they were looking at me sideways, thinking, "What have we got here? You know, something you're not very fit, this lad." And so I sort of felt that, and I made sure that was the last time that ever happened. So, but it was difficult. Yeah, it was. You know, the coaching wasn't any better. It was just, you know, they had so many people with talent that if someone wasn't playing well, they just dropped someone and put someone else in. And there was no, I'll go away and work on this.
Right.
Done this wrong or whatever. They just substituted people. So it was very different. Yeah.
Pretty ruthless.
Yeah, I play with some wonderful players, guys I still speak to on a monthly basis, if not earlier, or if not more. You know, we had a great side in the early '80s, and we always had really good sides. We didn't play that well because our front office was never in very good order. You know, there was always something silly happening with them, and it's that old thing where the board was made up of butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers, and what you wanted was businessmen and people that knew football.
Mm-hmm. Is it true? I read somewhere that in those early days at the NRL, you sometimes start fights just to slow the game down.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And as long as you, that was just one of the basic rules of rugby league, really. So, but the thing is, if you're really getting stuck in, you're really exhausted for the next 10 minutes afterwards. So you had to watch how much effort you put into that. You know, I can remember the big brawl we had. It started in the grand final of the Brisbane Freddie Comp in 1980. I wasn't involved. I just kept grabbing blokes and pulling them out in the holding guys because I knew how tiring it was going to be. So, because having done it on numerous occasions. So, yeah. So, you know, one of the big tactics our coach had when I went to Sydney, Ronnie Willie, a wonderful guy, may he rest in peace, he's now left us, was had he say, is it going to be the second scrum or the third scrum today we put the blow up on? Because we'd start a fight in the scrum, because it was hard to figure out who started it, and the referee just be watching it and it just all blow up. And that way you wouldn't get anyone ordered off, or hopefully. And, so that was one of our trademarks.
Tell me about you and Wally Lewis.
Wally was a wonderful player. He was a really exceptionally talented footballer. And he was rightly, the Emperor of Lang Park when he played State of Origin as a captain of Australia, and he was a really good footy player. Yeah.
But you and him came to blows a couple of times.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean that was part of the course. He was. I didn't look. The first time I broke his jaw, I didn't even know who he was. I was just having a fight, and the bloke the guy I had just sort of looked behind me. So I dropped him, and as I turned, there's this bloke running at me, and I hit him, and I was having a good day. And down he's gone, and some other bloke jumped on me, and we're wrestling around the ground. The referee got us apart, and he said, "Mate, we don't do that sort of thing here. This is my first game in Brisbane." And I said, "What about your bloke? Their bloke kicked me out." I said, "That's why I knocked the half-back out." And he said, "Yeah, right, I will that would happen again." So I said, "Put your head back in the scrum and get on with it." And the guy that I turned and hit and knocked him on his ass was Wally Lewis that broke his jaw. So, it was one of them things, I suppose. And,
Did that start a lifetime rivalry?
I've got no real idea. I didn't sort of worry that much about Wally as blue. As someone that can fight. He was a very good footballer. But yeah, I wasn't sort of going for that sort of thing. I was too busy playing footy most of the time. I'm always surprised that people think I was a real was a tough guy. I always thought myself as a real skillful person. I was the guy that was the architect of the game and stuff like that. But obviously, we've got our wires crossed somewhere along the line. Yeah, and then another time I accidentally crushed his windpipe. So, but I did. He wrote in his book that I tried to kill him, and I did correct him. I said, "Mate, I actually saved your life. I was the guy that got the line umpire involved in there for the doctor and all that sort of stuff."
Jeez.
But So anyway.
Sounds like tough days, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you weren't involved in this fight. I've just got to ask, because we're going to run out of time. We've got so many questions for you. I've got to ask about that famous Greg Dowell and Kevin Tamati fight. The whole of New Zealand watched that one over and over and over again. What are your memories of that day? Would that have been 80, 85?
85, yeah. Well, I was on the sideline because I'd already been cleaned up. I got KO'd really early on in that one, and actually it's quite funny if you ever get the opportunity to see this. I take the ball up, I sort of called the winger around, and I dummied and ran when I went to run back into them. They caught me halfway around, and a couple of them high shots, and I was knocked out before I hit the ground.
Jeez.
And as I was falling to the ground, obviously because I was out cold, I dropped the ball, and the commentator said, "Oh, and Graham has dropped the ball." No mention of the two head-on shots. There was no penalty given. Anyway, they managed to get me up, and I played on, and come half time. So I made it to half time, and then I ran out in the field. They found me, and I was just standing in the middle of the field looking around. And when they blew the whistle for the second half, so they got me off. And it happened after that. So I was on the sideline when that occurred, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I have watched it on numerous occasions, and KP, Kevin Carmody, he could hold his hands up. There's no doubt about that. Well, I've got to say, with the other guy, Greg Dowling, he's got a nice hard head too. He's got head.
Can we talk about a couple of highlights? I presume that that first grand final win for the North Brisbane team would have been a pretty special moment.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but I'd come from Otahu and Auckland, and we won lots of good. Like Otahu in those days, we'd play. I'd won the treble in Otahu, which is the Fox, the Stormont, and the Red Rooster. We won that on numerous occasions. We won that. I think at least twice, maybe three times. So we won, and then Otahu in those days, the NRL, so the ARL would organise a side from Sydney to come over and play the Auckland champion, and they were the champions of who they organised. But they were a Sydney side, and we played West one year and we lost 11-8, and it was my fault. I was in the clear. I should have passed the ball, but I dummied and fullback tackled me. And the next year, the next time we played, it was 78, and we played Cronulla the week after they lost the grand final to Manly. Yeah, and we beat them. So winning wasn't a strange occurrence for me in those days, because I played with really good footy sides. So I was lucky enough to do that. So I had plenty of winning. But when we went to North Sydney, we didn't do too much winning. But I was still lucky enough to be recognised. And for those days, like for an outsider for a Kiwi to be even picked in the squad was something unusual. To captain a side was it was like you were kidding. To get man of the match, if you had to be clearly the man of the match, quite a long way to get the award. So and
I think the Warriors know what that's like. You got to So you got to perform.
Exactly,
You got to perform extra good to gain the begrudging respect of the Aussie media.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could see clearly. You had to be twice as good almost. It was a bit like being the son of the father that's the coach. As the father, you wouldn't put your son unless he was twice as good as the next bloke, because otherwise everyone would be saying, no, he's getting looked after. So, it was one of those things. So I was lucky to play with some very good footy players that are still mates of mine. I played a hard game, a different version of the game that's now about, and I like the game now, and I liked the game then. I've been very, very fortunate.
Yeah. Was it a big negotiation when you moved from North Brisbane to North Sydney?
I don't think so. I've got no real idea. Because North and Brisbane, I think they'd resigned that I was going, so they didn't even enter into the negotiations. So I got a call from Ken McCaffrey, who was the secretary manager of the North Sydney Bears, and he said he was going to pay me this much money, and I thought about it, and I said, okay. He said, I'll send the contract over, and he rang me again to make sure everything was right. And I said, well, look, I'll tell you what, I'm a bit doubtful, but if you double what you've offered me, I'll sign on with it rights. And he said, okay, I'll double it. So he did. So that's how the negotiations went. So.
Do you reckon you got a good deal?
I would have played for nothing, dead set. I mean, I was just an opportunity, and that's what all life's about, isn't it? Is seizing the opportunity. Sometimes it's just standing there looking at you, and takes someone else to recognise it for you. And it takes, to uproot your family and go somewhere where you're not known, and a lot of people aren't liking you because you're going to take someone's spot that's their friend. So that takes a lot of doing, and especially one out by yourself. That's quite a harsh thing. I will say that coming from Otahu, we used to settle things at training. So if there was a dispute between a couple of players, we'd have a game of touch, and then as the touch wore on, the two opponents would square up and they'd have it out on the spot. So when I went to a place like North Brisbane, I only had 2 weeks to get everybody on side. So, and I needed the ball when I needed the ball, not when someone had finished with it. So they needed to know that when I called the ball, I was to get it. So I said to a good mate of mine standing up, "Sam, who's the toughest bloke in here?" And he said, "Oh, this bloke over here." I said, "Okay, do we still play touch?" And he said, "Are you going to put it on him?" I said, "Yeah, bloody oath, because I haven't got enough time to show what I'm capable of." So he said, "Right, so we were having a game of touch," and Graham Lowe drove in, and he knew what was going to happen. He screamed to a halt in his car, and he jumped out and started abusing me, and he said, "We don't do that here, we don't like that," and blah, blah, blah. And I was just thinking, oh, wow. So, but as it worked out, there was a big blue in the first game anyway, so it worked out all right.
We're almost out of time. Could you share your favourite memory of playing for the Kiwis?
Oh, look, there's many. Captaining two sides to England and France, 80 and 85 was over the moon. Great people. Lots of them have since passed, obviously, and lots of them are well. They're been in homes and whatever from the punishment they took in those games. That's what happened. It's wonderful. I think I was very fortunate to play with so many good players, and I think of them regularly.
You have a big birthday this year, Mark.
I did. I was 70 in September, 29th. Yeah, excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was great. I held my family with my kids and their kids, and my sisters and their kids and their kids, and we all went to Burleigh in Queensland, and we had a lovely week. So it was great.
Awesome. It's a real privilege to talk to you for half an hour or so. Thanks very much. I'm sure you got heaps more stories that we didn't get to, but gosh, we got plenty there. So Mark Graham, thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Yes, you take care, mate.